I'm going to say some super duper controversial stuff, which is going to feel like really wrong. And I think, like I was at your stage, you might be quite resistant, but I'd like to plant the seed and then see what you think in a couple of days after the seed has had a chance to germinate just a little bit. So, when I was looking for my very first pram before my first son was born, I and everybody that I knew then, and every new parent who I have met since, wants one pram. One pram that can do everything. And I can quite confidently say that if you don't have a car and you need to take a taxi, it is unlikely that you will have one pram that is very good at everything that you need it to do. I mean, if we lived in Australia or the UK and you had a car, finding one pram that could do everything is probably quite plausible because you get a little more flexibility with the car seat. You know, like if we had cars, then it'd be fine if our pram only took the infant car seat, because when it came time to have a toddler car seat, we like that could just stay in the car permanently and it wouldn't have to come out of the car and it wouldn't have to attach onto the stroller. Similarly, I mean, I know that it sounds counterintuitive. Like if you say, well, if I have a pram and I was willing to put that pram into the back of my car, then why wouldn't I be willing to put that pram into the back of a taxi? There is just something in the universe that makes it a bit different. Whether it's rushing to get it in the back of a taxi, whether it's the fact that the taxi boots are sometimes small and there's other stuff in there, or just the fact that you've got to do it so frequently. And if you had a car, maybe you wouldn't take the pram in the car as much. You know, maybe you would, you'd leave the pram at home and you're only taking the pram, out around your neighbourhood, or whatever it is. With that subtle difference between having your own car and having a taxi makes a really big deal with prams. And so when I was first looking, I wanted one pram that could do everything, and I was probably willing to pay a little bit more for that pram if I thought it could do everything. And now I have learned, and I don't know anybody now who has a kid over 2 who still just has one pram. My honest advice would be, and this is not because I want you to buy more prams. In fact, this has been my advice all along. We've only recently started selling prams. My advice would be, instead of buying an expensive pram that purports to do everything, I would recommend buying, especially because you don't have a car, buying maybe 2 prams that cost a little bit less each, but are incredibly good at their jobs. So for taxis, I think the best pram is the Mountain Buggy Nano. And you may find that it can do a good chunk of what you want to do, especially if you think that you might be travelling in the future. It's a cabin-sized pram, which a lot of prams are not. And this is a good thing because it means you can take the pram on the plane with you. So you can use it all the way through the terminal and then you can take it onto the plane with you. If you have a pram that's too big for cabin size, then you can take it up to the gate with you, and then you hand the pram to the gate crew, and they will put it in the luggage hold of the plane, which is presently exactly the same. But the issue is at the other end. You don't get the pram back when you get off the plane. The pram will go through oversized luggage. And there's a few problems with that. One, you can't use the pram in the terminal at your destination. 2, you might have to wait longer because it's oversized baggage and somehow that always takes longer. And 3, number 3 is that it can get beaten up. And we have, because we do stroller servicing as well, we have a lot of people who contact us because even if the pram was wrapped in a travel bag, somehow it still got beaten up. Because, you know, these things are bulky, they're hard to sort of manoeuvre, and the luggage guys are in a rush. So there is a benefit to having a pram that you can take carry on. You mentioned the difference between 4-wheeled and 3-wheeled prams. And 3-wheeled prams typically have better manoeuvrability and they handle better over uneven terrain. I've had a couple of 3-wheeled prams. Gosh, I've had a lot of prams in my lifetime. I've had a couple of 3-wheeled prams and I've had a couple of 4-wheeled prams. And I really stick by my original call, which was horses for courses. So if you get a pram that's really good for the specific job that you want, then it will tend to work better than taking a pram that's really good for something else and trying to use it in your situation. So I think the Mountain Buggy Nano is the best taxi pram, and it's cheap. It's $400 and something. If you compare that to its closest competitor, which is the Baby Zen Yo-Yo, if you were to buy all of the components for the Baby Zen Yo-Yo, and you do need to buy these components because if you don't, it won't work from birth, I think it's around $1,200. Whereas the Nano suits from birth without having to change the seat or add any attachments, and it's $400 and something. The Yo-Yo can take infant car seats only, but the Nano can take infant car seats and it can take travel-friendly toddler car seats as well. Like the Cosco Sonera Next is of course the biggest one, and it can also take the Combi Kokoro, which is another travel-friendly car seat. So that's something to consider. If you think that you will be taking the pram in a taxi a lot, that's something to think about. In terms of going for light jogs and walks and whatnot, I mean, we only started selling Mountain Buggy because I became really evangelical about them. My first 4 prams were not Mountain Buggies, but my last 3 prams were Mountain Buggies. Because I just think they're the best, to be honest. I think, I mean, we've got the Mountain Buggy Mini and the Mountain Buggy Swift and the Mountain Buggy Duet, if you want to come and have a look at them when circuit breaker eases up. Mother's Work have some of them, but not all of those. So the Mountain Buggy Duet is the same width as the Bugaboo Chameleon. So it's considered a full-size pram. And that is my favourite pram. So you can use it in single mode, which just means you have an incredibly comfortable seat for the child, plus you have 2 baskets. I'll send you a link to what they look like. And if you're looking for something for the Jack Russell to go in, it's got a huge basket underneath. Plus, if you use it in single mode, you can put the Jack Russell in the basket beside the baby. I don't know if you want to. I don't know if that would actually be a faux pas, having the dog on the same level as the baby. You'll have to make that call. And it pushes, like it handles like a cat on carpet, and it goes over curbs like a hot knife through butter. It is available in either what they call city wheels, which are Aerotech wheels, and they are punctureless wheels where there's no maintenance, or if you think that you will be running and you need more suspension and some give, then I would go for the air-filled tyres. They're like the traditional tyres that go onto those prams. The Mountain Buggy Swift is just the single version of that, and then the Mountain Buggy Mini is the smaller version. It's like the Swift, but it's lighter and a bit more compact. It comes with city wheels, although you could change them out to the air-filled tyres if you wanted to. Now, if you are looking for a single pram and you're pretty set on that, then probably the Mountain Buggy Mini really might be the way to go. It's the lightest, or one of the lightest of those sort of regular strollers. And it can take any infant car seat, but it now recently also has an adapter so that it can also take the Cosco Scenario Next, which is an infant and toddler car seat for when the baby is a little bit older. The other one that you might want to look at is the Bugaboo Bee. That is a four-wheeled pram. It has suspension but doesn't have air-filled tyres. It is also like light and compact. It doesn't officially take the Cosco Scenario Next, for specifically talking about a toddler car seat here, but it is really hackable. And you can go to taxibaby.com/stroller hacks to see how you would put the Cosco on the Bugaboo Bee, just through like sheer coincidence. The car seat sort of nestles into the frame of the stroller when you take the stroller seat out. The downside to that is that it won't have a sunshade that fits over the top. The Mountain Buggy Nano sunshade does fit over the top, but the Mountain Buggy Mini sunshade would not go over the top of the car seat either. So if you're looking for like that elusive all-in-one pram that can do everything for you, I think that the Mini is probably going to be the ticket. But if I were you, I would compare that to the Bee. I don't think that the Bee will handle light jogging and the odd sort of Botanic Gardens off-road sort of traipse as well as the Mini would. The Mini has an adjustable handlebar that tilts. It doesn't extend, it tilts. So I am 5'6" and I use it comfortably. My husband is 6'4" and he also uses it comfortably. If you are going to bite the bullet and get a different pram for taxis and travel, then I would not get the Mini. I would choose something a bit more robust for my jogging, walking around the park pram. And for that, my personal decision would be, well, I would choose the Duet. If you don't have to take the pram into a car, I would choose the Duet hands down every time. It is a bit of a beast, but it handles, it's the biggest pram I've got and it handles the best. It is so surprisingly compact when you actually need to go through spaces. If I could have only ever bought one pram, I wish that instead of I bought a Baby Jogger pram right at the beginning for Peter. I wish that I had bought the Mountain Buggy Duet as a single, because then when we had a second baby, which we never knew that if we were ever going to have a second baby, then I would have been able to add the second seat. Now we use it for the 3 kids, where we have a Mountain Buggy free rider scooter, which is like a cross between a scooter. Well, it's a buggy board that converts to a scooter, or a scooter that converts to a buggy board. So my 5-year-old stands on that at the back of the pram, or he scoots if it's not uphill. And then the 2.5-year-old and the 1-year-old sit in the pram itself. You mentioned the Baby Jogger. I mean, again, yeah, that was my first choice as well. It just isn't quite narrow enough for what you want to do in Singapore, in my opinion. All of my friends had Baby Joggers back in Australia. When we took our Baby Jogger back to Australia, it was just seamless and it worked. There's just something about, the size of the footpaths in Singapore and just how life is lived in Singapore that sort of didn't really work for me with that pram. So that's kind of the complex part. And I'm sorry, if you want me to draw a diagram of what I was recommending with the prams, holla, I will do that, because that is a minefield and I'm sorry about that. In terms of car seats, things are a lot simpler, simply because you have fewer options. So broadly, option A is to go with an infant car seat. These are car seats that are rear facing only. They're sometimes called bucket seats or capsules. They're called bucket seats because they have a handle like a bucket, or they vaguely look like a bucket. They have their own integrated sunshade. If you were to have your own car, then you could get a separate base to attach them to, but they work without the base, and that's what makes them so handy to use in taxis. Almost every brand of car seat manufacturer will make an infant car seat, but they're not all created equal. I will start with Mountain Buggy. Mountain Buggy has the lightest and narrowest infant car seat. It's called the Protect. I used it with my third and I think it's great, just because when you are having to lift it in and out of taxis so many times, especially as the child grows, it does make a big difference. Also, in the future, if you need it for number 2, you're going to have number 1 in a pram, as well, in a car seat in the back of a taxi as well. You know, saving an inch or 2 on the width of the Mountain Buggy Protect can make a big impact on squeezing everybody across the back seat. It's also like shockingly cheap. It's $183, and I just think it's great value. The other kinds of infant car seats you can look at, Maxi Cozy, Cybex. I would honestly caution you with the Cybex Cloud Q and Cloud Z models. They're super popular because when the baby is out of the car, you can crack it in a good way. You can pop the car seat apart so that it's in lay flat mode. And this is really, really valued by parents, the notion that they can have the baby laying flat when they're not in the car. But this more than doubles the weight of the car seat. So the Mountain Buggy Protect's around 3 kilos. The rest of the kind of regular infant car seats like Maxi Cozies and the normal Cybex Aton are around 4.5 kilos. And the Cybex Cloud models are over 7 kilos. And they also get outgrown sooner because the padding is less adjustable and less removable because of the feature where you can crack the car seat into lay flat mode. And so more often than not, parents come to me and say, well, it's heavier than I can handle now that my child is over 6 months old, and my child seems to be outgrowing the car seat sooner than I had expected. And they're very expensive car seats. And so you should be able to, your infant car seat should be able to last you until sometime during the child's 2nd year of life. So that's between 1 year and 2 years old. Typically, that's when a child will outgrow their car seat. They don't outgrow it by age, they outgrow it by size, either because they've met the weight limit, which is either 12 or 13 kilos, depending on your car seat. But more commonly, a child will reach the torso height limit or the seated height limit. So once their head, for most car seats, it's once their head is no longer contained inside the shell of the car seat. That's the point usually that children will outgrow their car seat. Each car seat's a little bit different on that. So you have to check the manual or let me know and I will give you some advice on that. So you can look at the other infant car seats. There's no problem with that. They're typically 300 plus. I would caution you against choosing an American car seat in Singapore because American car seats are not automatically compatible with the seat belts we have here, and you will need to use additional hardware called a locking clip. Whereas we have European seat belts in Singapore, so they work best with European car seats. Generally, I'm going to tell you a slight difference to that in a moment. But for infant car seats specifically, we tend to find that they work a lot better if you choose a European one to use here. If you start researching and you have some questions about, what do you think about this infant car seat compared to that one, just drop me a message and I will give you my thoughts on those. Your other option is to go with a convertible car seat, which will convert from an infant car seat to a toddler car seat later. And the market leader for that one is the Cosco Sonera Next. Now, this is an American car seat because there aren't European car seats in this category. And so we give you the locking clip that you need to use with that car seat. And it's quite an easy one to use that's approved with that car seat. The pros and cons of choosing a longer lasting convertible car seat like the Cosco versus an infant only car seat. So on the infant side of things, the infant car seat is easier to carry because it has a handle and it has its own integrated sunshade, which can be really helpful for the early period. And a lot of parents do find it a little bit easier to install, although not all. We still do have quite a chunk of parents who, when they change from their infant car seat to the Cosco, are relieved and actually find that a bit easier to use. Also, depending on the pram that you get, oftentimes infant car seats will click into the stroller. So they have the kind of adapter that they use clicks in, whereas the Cosco Sonera Next straps into the prams that it's compatible with, or it sits into a frame. And so there is, it may take a little more getting used to. It maybe takes you an extra couple of seconds when you're attaching or detaching the car seat from the pram, which is something to think about. When you're thinking, so if you do go with the infant car seat, once the infant car seat is outgrown, you will need to change to a toddler car seat. And if you still don't have a car and you're using taxis in Singapore, there are only two options, the Cosco Sonera Next or the Urban Kangaroo. The Urban Kangaroo is a forward-facing car seat, which is 5 times less safe than a rear-facing car seat. And so if you wanted to keep your child forward-facing for longer than 1.5 or 2 years, depending how long the infant car seat fits, then you will only have the option of going with the Cosco Sonera Next. If I had a do-over, I would have skipped the infant car seat completely and I would have gone straight to the Cosco. It's just just great value. So you can definitely skip the infant car seat and go straight to the Cosco. That's what I did with number 2. He used the Cosco from birth. With number 1, he used a Maxi Cozy Cabrio Fix from birth, and when he outgrew that, he used the Cosco Sonera Next. And with number 3, he used the Mountain Buggy Protect from birth, and then moved into the Cosco Sonera Next. So I've tried the different permutations. Now for me, with number 3, I chose to go with the infant car seat because for me, for $183, which was the cost of the Mountain Buggy Protect, for me personally, the value that offered was worth the price that I had to pay for it. So infant car seats are more convenient than convertible car seats, in my opinion. Not always. But in this case, for me, it was. And so I liked the added convenience of being able to click it onto my stroller, to have the handle, to have the sunshade, to then going with the Cosco from birth. But I did the Cosco from birth for number 2, so it's definitely possible. The Cosco, interestingly, fits teeny tiny children very well. The Mountain Buggy Protect and the Cosco fit preemie babies really well, and I have I have small children because they're all born 2 weeks early, 2 weeks or 4 weeks early, I can't remember. And so they were like 2.5 kilos. So those car seats fitted them really well, but typically the mainstream infant car seats don't actually fit tiny babies well. They tend to fit really well from about 1 month. So I will send you links to the Mountain Buggy Protect and the Cosco Sonera Next You can use either of those car seats from birth. If you want to use the Cosco Sonera Next from birth, it will work almost only with the mountain buggy prams because they have the adapters that work for it. If you decide to go with the Bugaboo Bee, then you will probably be looking at needing an infant car seat, because while you can hack the Cosco on it, it only works in a very upright mode, and that's not suitable for newborns because they need to be reclined at 45 degrees at least. So now that you've listened to my incredibly long tale about car seats and prams, I guess to summarise, car seats, you can either choose an infant car seat like the Mountain Buggy Protect, but it doesn't have to be that one. It can be, Maxi Cosi Cabrio Fix if you find that on sale, or a Cybex Aton, but I would caution you against the Cybex Cloud lay flat car seat. Or you can go with the Cosco Sonera Next, which saves you some money. You might be, making some slight concessions on convenience for the first 6 months, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not the end of the world. In terms of strollers, I think that the Mountain Buggy Duet is the best pram in the world. It's one of the best-selling prams in the world. And I think that would do really, really well for taking pup along with you. If you're looking for a single pram that can do everything, then perhaps Mountain Buggy Mini is the way to go. And that is compatible with either any of the infant car seats or with the Cosco Sonera Next as well. The Mountain Buggy Nano is a fantastic pram for taxis and travel, and it can take kids up to 20 kilos. So this pram can last you until your child is 5 years old. And I think that you would get incredible use out of a Mountain Buggy Duet plus a Mountain Buggy Nano, because those prams would, that would be all that you need to buy in the pram category for the next 6 years, or forever, really. I think that they'd really cover all of your bases. By the way, the Mountain Buggy Duet is narrow enough to fit on the bus, and yeah, I think that's super cool. Okay, let me know what you think, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, I will talk to you later. See ya.
I took your feedback, and I'm going to try and do this while I'm showing you the products on the screen, and I will try and answer your questions that I've got over here as I go. So it's my fault that I kind of just start talking and I can get really convoluted. So I'm sorry about that. So to start with, you've said Mountain Buggy Nano with the infant car seat or the Cosco, or you start with one and then graduate to the Cosco. So I want to separate this into the two parts here. So if you're very firm on definitely only wanting one pram, then I want to flag that I think you will find it's sort of, instead of doing a perfect job or a very good job at everything you want it to do, it does a halfway job at everything that you want it to do. And so instead of buying one pram that does everything okay, you might be able to buy two prams that do their specific jobs really well. And some of the all-in-one prams cost more. So if you play your cards right, you may be able to get the two fit-for-purpose prams at not much more expensive a price point than the one pram that can do everything. So if you just want one pram only, that's halfway between a travel pram and a jogger pram, that's where I was putting the Bee or the Mountain Buggy Mini. So I looked up the Bee, and it is expensive. It's almost $1,200. The Mountain Buggy Mini, I'd need to convert that. What's that? 300 is about $400. I need to double check on shipping. I actually have this blue one that I own myself. I just need to check if Mountain Buggy will ship it to us for free or not. But you don't have to get it from us. You can get it First Few Years and Mother's Work and Mother Care are all Mountain Buggy retailers in Singapore. To my knowledge, for a little while, First Few Years was actually stocking the Mountain Buggy Mini. but perhaps they don't have the Mountain Buggy Mini anymore. No, they've run out. So this is the one that I've got, and yeah, if you are after one pram, it's a pretty good middle point. I had the City Mini, the Baby Jogger City Mini for number one. And how did it handle for public transport? It was okay. Back in the day when I had number one, you couldn't take car seats. So you couldn't take prams on the bus. Now you can. They just have to fit inside a certain dimension. So I couldn't take it on the bus at all. And I used it with the Maxi Cozy Cabrio fixed car seat. Was it sturdier? Sturdier than what? It was not sturdier than the Mountain Buggy Mini, and it wasn't sturdier than the Mountain Buggy Duet. But yes, it was sturdier than the Mountain Buggy Nano, which is a different pram, and I'll show you that in a moment.
So this is what the Mountain Buggy Nano looks like. It's a portable cabin size pram. You can see that it can go lay flat. It's got 4 wheels, doesn't have much in the way of suspension. It is sturdier than other cabin sized. It is sturdier than other cabin sized prams, that's for sure. But it's not super fair if you try and compare it to like a genuinely rugged pram. In terms of cabin-sized travel strollers, though, this competes incredibly well. It's got an amazing price point. You can get that from any of the retailers, not just us, but we would like it if you buy it from us. And yeah, like I said, when it compares to the Yo-Yo, which is 3 times the price, I think it wins hands down. This is what the Mountain Buggy Mini looks like. It is a smaller version of the Mountain Buggy Swift. So the Swift is Mountain Buggy's best-selling single stroller. And you can see, you know, it's sturdy, it's rugged. I've got one of these as a demo. If you want to come and have a look at it, you can change the height of the handlebar. It's got a decently sized canvas basket, which is really nice. And this is 400 US dollars. So about $550. And again, we'll just have to check on shipping, or we can check with other retailers as well to see if somebody's got it in stock for you. I think that, so the Mini is just a smaller version of it. It's the same platform, but it's lighter weight a bit. Everything's a little bit shrunk. And yeah, looks nice, right? So you can see it's kind of quite compact, quite easy to lift and easy to fold, but not a travel pram in that it's not a cabin-sized stroller. And yeah, you can use this with the Mountain Buggy Protect infant car seat, or any infant car seat, or you can use it with the Costco. The Duet, now that I know it's also not in your price point because it's the same price as the Bugaboo Bee, but I just wanted to show you what the beast looks like. I actually bought my Duet secondhand. I don't know if that's an option that you want to consider. I got it for 400 Singapore dollars secondhand, and so it's gone through all of my children and all of somebody else's children, and it's pretty solid. So this is the mode that I've got mine in at the moment, the side-by-side buggy, and the width of it's incredible. Like I look sort of, you know, there's always trees in the middle of the footpath, and I'm like, gosh, I can't get around this, and it does, because it's shockingly narrow. But this is what I thought you might be interested in. This is the Duet as a single. So you take one of these seats out and you put a basket in its place. I think it's called a Joey tote. It's got a huge basket to start with, and then you have like pretty much a bassinet worth of stuff to put in. Yes, so I'm a bit evangelical about the Duet, but understand that it's outside your price point. So if we consider a second jogger, we should get the Baby Jogger, I guess. Well, what I think is if you're only going to get one pram, then that's what I was saying. Think about the Mountain Buggy Mini or the Bee or the Baby Jogger GT. I think that the Mini beats the GT hands down. The Baby Jogger prams aren't actually joggers. They started out that way for sure, but they're not anymore. So if you were going to get a second jogger pram, then the Swift. I think if you wanted to find a Duet secondhand, the Duet. The baby, unless you're getting a Bob Baby Jogger pram, they don't jog that well, because the Baby Jogger prams are the sort of all-purpose prams. They're trying to do everything for everybody. The mountain buggy infant seat can be used for 1 to 2 years. Some reviews said 9 months. Yeah, you'll find that reviews say 9 months for pretty much all of the car seats. We find that when parents come to us asking about second stage car seats, that almost everybody moves their kid out of the infant car seat into a toddler car seat 6 to 12 months earlier than they really have to. So around that 9-month mark, that's when kids are really crawling, really moving. And anytime a child goes through a developmental leap like that, they will resist their car seat, even if it's like a verbal developmental leap, not so much a physical developmental leap. And when they go through the leap and they start rejecting their car seat, the parent starts thinking that the car seat must be uncomfortable because kids are crying, they're trying to bust out of the seat. It's not necessarily the case though. So kids also might start looking really uncomfortable in their car seat quite a long time before they've actually reached the physical height and weight limits of the car seat. So no matter what brand of car seat, around 9 months, that's when a lot of parents get in touch with us and say, oh, I think my kids are outgrowing their car seat. And if you head onto our website, which I know is not very intuitive, and if you go in the main menu, if you go to blogs and then Car Seat Chronicles, you'll see 2 articles there about parents who had kids around the 9 to 10 month old mark and were saying that one kid was outgrowing their Joey infant car seat and another family was saying their kid was outgrowing the Duna infant car seat. What was next? And in both of those cases, the kid had way more than 6 months actually left in their infant car seat. Any opinions on the Duna? Yes, I like the Duna. We're looking at stocking it because we do recommend it quite a bit. And just so you know, that's usually the order that we do stuff. We will recommend a car seat for a while or a pram or a product for a while, and then we will look into stocking it. Yeah, I think the Duna is a good car seat in general. But so for you, if you're looking at that whole 2 prams situation, then perhaps the Duna might be an option for this kind of initial travel pram. So it is a bit heavier because when you lift it into the car, you have to be lifting the stroller component and the car seat component. So that is something to watch out for. It installs reasonably easy. It's a big seat. It'll be outgrown at the same time that the Mountain Buggy Protect or the Maxi Cozy Cabrio Fix would get outgrown. So it's sometime in the 2nd year of your child's life is when it will be outgrown. And this is definitely not a jogging pram. So this is something that you'd only use for taxis, and you wouldn't. I'm not even sure that you'd really like to take it much on public transport. In terms of how it steers, it is okay, but it doesn't really have anything on a normal stroller. But I mean, once this is outgrown, you're going to have to be getting a pram anyway. So yeah, option 1 is to get a travel stroller. So this one over here, option 1 is to get a travel stroller plus a jogger. Where's my hand? Option 2 is just to get 1 pram, and that's where I thought the Bee or the Mini or the Baby Jogger GT would come into it there. And then option 3 is a variation on option 1, which is to get your jogger pram and to get the Duna. Okay, let me know how I did. Thank you.